I have a really awesome episode planned for you today, which is all about holistic wellness. But first and foremost, I want to give everyone an update in my cancer journey. So stick around and hear all about it.
Welcome to the Far More Podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the Far More Podcast. If this is your first time joining, my name is Liz Brock. I am co-host of the Far More Podcast, and today I'm going to give you some tips, some tricks, 5 ways to be a better you. But first, I want to give an update. So for those who are new here, I battled breast cancer 10 years ago. I will put a link in the show notes to a couple of episodes that talk about where Jason and I talk about that journey for us, because I was also pregnant at the time. And ever since my surgery and chemotherapy, I have to go to the West Cancer Center every year. At first, it was every 6 months. And then I graduated up to going once a year just for routine follow-up to make sure my blood work looked good, to make sure that there weren't any red flags coming up. And so today, the day that I am recording this episode, marks my 10-year appointment, and they let me go. She said, "You are more than welcome to come back every single year, and we will check on you every single year. But if it is something that you don't feel you need to have peace of mind," she basically said, "then you are free to go." I gave her a huge hug because these people have become pivotal in my journey over the last 10 years. But then I said, "Heather, I will see you if I need you, but I'm out of here." And I just left. I didn't have to check out. I didn't have to make an appointment for next year. I didn't have to do anything except breathe a huge sigh of relief, tell my Father God up in heaven, "Thank you so much for this amazing day." And then I doubled down on my prayers for those who were still sitting in the seats at the cancer center, because they may be right in the middle of their cancer journey, and they are right in the middle of the hardest part. Or maybe they're sitting in the waiting room and they're about to be told for the first time about their cancer diagnosis. Or there are others who are celebrating with me. So when I was in the lobby waiting to even go back to see the doctor, there was a little bell that started ringing, and a bell ringing signifies the end of your treatment. And there are 3 floors in this lobby, and it's an open lobby. And so you can hear the bell, and then all of a sudden, this wave of applause starting at the first floor and then rushing up to the 3rd floor. It just brought chills, and it made me so grateful just for the doctors, for the nurses, for the researchers who develop these treatments so that we would have a better chance of survival. So I wanted to share that with y'all, because this breast cancer has been such a big part of my journey, and an even bigger part of my faith journey. And so I just wanted to share that. And if you are going through treatment now, or if you have just been given a diagnosis and you are just right in the middle of the hard part, I've been there. I am with you, brother or sister, whoever is listening. And if you need some support and some encouragement, please reach out to me. My email is in the show notes. Reach out to me, and I would love to be a part of your support system. So let's talk about, let's just move on from that. That's great news. Let's talk about our health. Do you ever feel, do you ever feel like you're playing whack-a-mole? Do y'all remember that game? I was introduced to the game whack-a-mole at Chuck E. Cheese. So I loved the game, but the characters at Chuck E. Cheese, don't even get me started. I'll put a link in the show notes to what the characters at Chuck E. Cheese looked like, just in case you're not from around here and you're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. They were terrifying. But you know that game where you grab the mallet and you literally try to whack the mole as it's coming up out of the hole, out of the ground. Do you ever feel like you're doing that with your well-being or with your health? Like you crush your workout routine, but your social life seems to take a nosedive because of it. Well, hang on to your kettlebells, because today we're going to dive into the world of holistic wellness, where balance isn't just for your Instagram-worthy yoga poses, and get ready to discover how to juggle all of the balls of well-being without dropping your sanity. So I want this to be a super fun episode instead of a stressful one. Please do not get stressed. Just soak in what I'm going to tell you today, and then maybe just try and start with one or two. Because here's the deal, we're going to explore the interconnected aspects of health and wellness, because it's not just this thing or that thing. It's not just working out. It's not just exercising. It's not just getting good quality sleep. It's everything. And holistic wellness is just a fancy way of saying living a healthy life by focusing on multiple aspects of health. So we're going to explore what it means, why it matters, and how you can incorporate it into your daily life. So let's start by defining holistic wellness. Unlike traditional approaches that typically focus solely on physical health, holistic wellness considers the whole person, your mind, your body, and even your spirit. It recognizes that all of these aspects are actually interconnected and that true wellness actually comes from balancing all of them. So let's talk about some different dimensions of holistic wellness. Some are obvious, and there might be a couple that you may not have even thought about as it pertains to your overall health. So first, let's talk about your physical health. This is the most common one that people think of. This is going to be things like healthy weight, good flexibility, a strong heart, and healthy habits like exercise, hydration, nutrition, sleep, all of which I have talked about in previous episodes. And this is not an exhaustive list by any means, but just a few things to give you a picture of what I'm talking about here. Second would be your mental and emotional well-being. So here we're talking about things like emotional resilience. Do you bounce back after a tough season or a tough decision or a tough occurrence in your life? Positive self-esteem, healthy relationships, self-care, setting boundaries. Those are your emotional and mental well-being. Number 3 is your social connections. So this has to do with positive relationships that provide a sense of belonging, having a varied social network that includes people with varying perspectives on life, and regular in-person meetups that help you grow as a person, and then spending time with people who encourage healthy behaviors and help motivate and encourage you. These are important. It's so important not to only surround yourself with people who are like you, because that doesn't develop you more holistically as a person. We want to have varying perspectives on life. We want to have people who are going to push us, who are going to hold us accountable, who are going to hold our feet to the fire when we're backsliding or when we're going down a really bad path. And I think it's too easy to get caught up in this rut of only surrounding ourselves with people who agree with us and who aren't going to push us outside of our comfort zone. So number 4 is going to be your spiritual or personal growth. So this is where we get really personal with each other and we encourage a deeper walk with the Lord by reading our Bibles, by spending focused time on prayer for other people, taking time to be introspective to see where we need to grow and mature. And this also pertains to developing current skills or even learning new ones. We need to be perpetual students in life. And number 5 are environmental factors. And I feel like this one is a relatively new, and by new, I mean really like in the last 5 to 15 years, has this become a more popular focus, but it basically means what around you is causing harm or making you healthier. So things like the air quality, the water quality, chemical safety of the products we're using, and so on. And I'm going to be super honest with you here. I do not focus a lot of attention on the chemical makeup of the cleaning products that I buy or the hair products and stuff like that. It doesn't mean that I'm saying it's not important, because I know it is, but for me personally, it just falls a bit lower on my priority list when it comes to these five things. So now that we understand what holistic wellness is, why is it important? Well, it improves your overall health outcomes, such as reduced prevalence of chronic diseases and conditions. It improves your cardiovascular health. It increases your strength, and it gives you better respiratory function. And let me just tell y'all, as someone who loves walking and throwing in an occasional interval of running, I can tell you that my cardiovascular health, just probably in the last few months, has increased so much that my resting heart rate, like I went to see my PCP, and y'all, this is such a tangent, and I'm sorry, but I'm going to share it with you anyway, because I want you to know that these things do work. I went to my PCP recently, and they put that little pulsometer on your finger to check your pulse, and it kept beeping because it was so low. And so the PCP did an echocardiogram just to make sure that everything was okay with my heart. And she said, "Your heart is really healthy. I think that your heart is so healthy that when your heart is at rest, it's really actually truly resting." So my resting heart rate is typically below 50, because my heart knows that I'm going to be working it out later. And so when it's time to rest, it's really resting. And I do not say this to brag. Please hear me very clearly. I say this to tell you that these things that I'm talking about, I do practice them. Not all of them do I practice greatly. Some of them I do struggle, just like everyone else. But I'm not going to share anything with you that I'm not at least trying to do myself, and that I haven't seen proof that it actually works. So that's why I'm saying all of that. So let's go back to our benefits of focusing on holistic wellness. Better stress management. What does that mean? That's self-explanatory, right? We are better able to react to stressful situations in a healthy way instead of spinning and spiraling every time something stressful occurs. So, side note, for my parents out there, or even if you're not a parent but you are a spouse, you know just as well as I do that marriage is hard. It is so rewarding and it is so fulfilling, but it is hard. And parenting, it is hard. It is so rewarding and it is so fulfilling, and children are a blessing from the Lord. But y'all, it's stressful. But if we are focusing on holistic wellness, keeping our minds right, keeping a gentle spirit, then we are going to be able to react to our stressful times with our spouses and with our children in such a healthy way, instead of yelling, instead of popping off, instead of hurting feelings. This is why we have to focus on holistic wellness. And next is enhanced quality of life. And who doesn't want that? Your overall life is just going to be better because you're focusing on and improving multiple aspects of your health, not just one. And last but not least, it helps to prevent chronic illnesses and diseases. And I don't know about you, but as a woman, and I believe that heart disease is the number one killer of women, this is a big deal. So we need to take it very seriously. So let's get practical. How can we incorporate this wellness into our daily lives? Well, I'm going to give you just a few ways that we can begin to focus. So with your physical health, regular exercise. I'm a big fan and a big advocate of lifting weights as opposed to cardio. Like if you wake up and you only have time to do one or the other, I would highly encourage that you pick up some heavy weights because it improves your metabolism by increasing your muscle mass, which in turn, and this is a big bonus, it burns more calories when we are at rest. So anybody else want their bodies to burn more calories while it's resting? Hello, me. And also stronger muscles truly do make everyday tasks easier. Another major benefit of lifting weights, and this one becomes more and more important as we age, is improved bone density. Weightlifting strengthens bones, which reduces the risk of osteoporosis and fractures. And y'all, I can't even believe that I am talking about osteoporosis and fractures, but I'm 46. I am quickly approaching 50 and quickly approaching perimenopause and then later menopause, where the bone density begins to decrease, and lifting heavy weights, doing weight-bearing exercises is going to increase and help that bone density because it strengthens the bones. And lifting weights is not, I repeat, please listen, it is not going to make you bulky. You would have to consume so many calories and be lifting such an incredible amount of weight over and over and over, high reps, high weight, lots of calories to become bulky. It is not going to make you bulky. What it is going to do is it's going to make you look healthy and toned, and it's going to help you to feel healthy and toned and strong and confident. So next on the list is balanced nutrition. And I'm going to be real honest with y'all here again. This is the one that I struggle to be consistent with. Like, I will be super disciplined for half the year and then not so disciplined the other half. And I've learned by talking to other people, especially women, that I am not alone. But here's the thing. I know the things to do. It's not a matter of head knowledge, because all of that is there, right? Like, I know to severely limit, if not completely eliminate, processed foods. I know that I should be focusing on whole foods that can be found in the perimeter of the grocery store. I know that sweet, sugary treats should be just a once in a while situation, but it's easier said than done, right? But be encouraged. Start where you are, and if you keep quote unquote failing, guess what? Start over, and then start over again, and then start over again. You start over as many times as you have to, but please hear me. Do not give up. Please do not give up. And I have to tell myself this too. I have to remind myself, not daily, but maybe on a monthly basis, I have to remind myself, girl, you messed up. It's okay, but don't stay there. Don't waller in it. Don't let it stop you from taking the next right step, because that's what we have to do. When we mess up, we acknowledge it, and then we take the next right step. And last but not least, and y'all have heard me talk about this before, is adequate sleep. And I harp on this with my friends. I did talk about this in a previous episode, which I'll link to it in the show notes in case you didn't hear it and you want to listen to it. I believe this step is severely overlooked and underrated. So what if instead of wearing a badge of honor for only getting 4 to 5 hours of sleep a night, we start wearing a badge of honor for prioritizing quality sleep and aiming for 7 to 8 hours each night? Like, seriously, please go listen to the episode that I linked in the show notes for more on this one. So what can we do to improve our mental and emotional well-being? Number 1 on my list, therapy or counseling. I would highly recommend doing your research first and asking for referrals before starting therapy. And also, if the first one isn't a good fit, that's okay. Guess what? You don't have to go back to that therapist, but don't give up. Sometimes you have to see a few before finding the right one. And I know this can be kind of frustrating and time consuming on the front end, but I believe it can pay dividends for years to come. And here's the thing. And maybe this is you too, and please be encouraged. I put off going to therapy. Like I knew I needed to do it, right? Like in your head, you're finally convinced. You're like, okay, I need therapy. I know I could benefit from therapy, but you are just so nervous because you've never done it before. You don't know what to expect. And that was me. I rescheduled my very first appointment at least 3 times, maybe even 5. And once I got through that first appointment, I felt so silly in my head. I was like, wow, I built this up so big. I had inflated it to some crazy thing in my head, but I ended up really, I don't want to use the word enjoy because does anybody really enjoy therapy? But I found great value in it. And if I had it to do all over again, I 100% would. So please reach out to a licensed professional after you do your research and after you talk to some really close friends and get some referrals. Second is stress reduction techniques. So has someone ever told you to close your eyes and just take a few deep breaths and you completely rolled your eyes at them because you thought it was ridiculous? Well, guess what? It actually works. There's just something about closing your eyes to shut the world out and inhale as deeply as you can for just a few seconds. It does wonders to reset your nervous system. And if you're a fan of water like I am, not just to drink, but to hear, go find a water fountain or a pond, a lake, an ocean, like whatever kind of body of water, even if it's a teeny tiny puddle. I'm really kind of kidding on that one, but sit down in front of it and begin to tell your body to release all the tension, starting with your toes and moving all the way up to your head. So this technique can also be done at home by lying on the couch. And I want you to listen because it's going to sound ridiculous, but y'all, it really does work. So as you're laying down on the couch, first you tense your toes, like you point them as tightly as you can for like 3 seconds. And then you release the tension as you exhale. Then next you move up. You tense your legs, flexing your quads as tightly as you can for a few seconds. Then you release the tension. And you do this with each section ending with your shoulders, and you will be amazed at just how much more relaxed you feel after just 60 seconds of performing this technique. So third on the list of how we can focus on our holistic health is social connections. This one I feel like is really tough in today's age where we're in a digital age. We're Zooming, we're texting, we're DMing, we're messaging, but we're not doing the face-to-face thing. So we need to nurture those relationships, spending quality time with those we love and who love us. So grab coffee with your spouse, talk about anything and everything. Go to dinner with some of your best friends and catch up and reminisce on good times and memories. Get involved in your community. This is another great way to enhance your social connections because it takes the focus off of you and it puts it on others. Volunteer at your local senior citizen center. If you have kids, I highly recommend this. We did this over the summer as part of, what is her name? It's Governor Bill Lee's wife. Is it Maria? I think it's Maria. And she initiated this meeting of senior citizens with kids, and my kids loved it. So find a senior citizen center or even the library, a local soup kitchen where you can serve food, like anything that gets you out of the house and serving others in your community. So number 4 on our list is spiritual and personal growth. So this is going to be spending time in your Bible. And if you're new to the Bible, start in the New Testament with the book of John. It's a great book to start with. Self-reflection practices are also a great way to focus on your personal growth because you're forcing yourself to look inside and take inventory of areas in your life where you need to focus more attention on growth and areas in your life that maybe you need to just give up altogether. And if you're anything like yours truly, you will find just about anything else to do to avoid doing this. I don't know what my hang up is with self-reflection. I don't know if it's because I have struggled with low self-esteem most of my life, and I will avoid self-reflection practices like the plague. I would rather go into my kitchen, take everything out of my refrigerator and scrub it down before I sit down and do self-reflection. However, I've tried probably over the last year to be more intentional about this, and I'm not going to say that it's easy, but I will say that the more I sit in the quiet and the more I look inside, the more I do realize where the Lord is trying to sanctify me and shape me. And it's not going to happen if I'm not willing to just sit with myself. Like, does anybody feel me on this? Can you just, even though I can't see you, can you just raise your hand and say, I struggle with this too. I struggle with sitting with myself to figure out what I need to get better at, what I need to stop doing altogether. Because we're in this thing together. So let's go back to our list on spiritual and personal growth. Another way to grow is to pursue passions. What fires you up? What could you just go on and on about without really having to even think about it? Is there a way for you to turn that into a business? I mean, it might just be something you turn into a hobby, but what if you could turn it into like a little small business? And then lastly, continuous learning. So I've talked before on this podcast how learning new things as an adult is really hard. But man, it sure can be rewarding once you start to figure it out and see progress. Case in point, this podcast itself, y'all, I didn't know the first thing about doing a podcast other than you sit down and talk about stuff into a microphone. Like seriously, that was it. I didn't know anything beyond that. And now the Far More podcast is coming up on its 1-year anniversary. It's been so challenging. Like, I'm not going to lie. There have been so many times that I have literally looked up to the skies and been like, Lord, why am I doing this? Why in the world do you have me here? Why do I keep doing this every week? But it is rewarding. And he has told me, hey girl, I've got you. You're reaching people, even if it's just a few. So get out there. Y'all learn to do something new. And last on the list, but certainly not least, are those environmental factors. So what is it that we can do to create a healthier home environment? And I've already told y'all that this one falls rather low on my priority list when it comes to cleaning products and makeup. I mean, I wear mascara and that's about it. Oh, but I do love my mascara. They are not a sponsor of the show, but I am going to put a link in the show notes because I love the mascara that I use. But I don't put a lot of time and effort into trying to find the cleanest, safest products. But here's what I do know. Less yelling and more positivity. Less clutter, more space. Less chaos, more calm. And unless you and your family thrive in chaos, God bless you. I know some people, some families, they love the chaos. They love it. They love it when everybody is, going 90 to nothing and talking 60 miles an hour. I'm not that girl. I like calm. My husband and I are not those people. We like calm, especially the older we get. I'm finding that the older we get, with each year that passes, the calmer we want our space is. Can y'all feel me? Anybody feel me on that one? And I get that these sometimes change with seasons in your life. Like, for instance, Jason, when he used to come home from work, he would just create chaos. in our house for about 30 minutes. Like, I'm not even kidding. The kids would be going crazy. The dog would be barking and zooming all over the house. And I would have to run and hide. And don't even get me started on the bedtime routine. It was pure chaos, like WWE. But it's different now. Things are so much calmer in the Brock house, and I am so here for it. And if this is something that you are seeking and you feel like it just can't happen, don't give up. Just start by making like one little change with if we're talking about a bedtime routine, just make one little change that promotes a little bit more calm instead of the chaos. And so next on our list is spend time in nature. So I already touched on getting near like a body of water if it is something that brings calm to your spirit, but just take a walk at a local park and look around. So I'm not obsessed with clouds per se, but I am a cloud fanatic. And I just love to look at and take pictures and videos of clouds because there is something just so beautiful and magnanimous about them to me. They bring me such a sense of calm and peace. So whatever that thing is for you out in nature, just focus on that. As we wrap up today's episode, remember that holistic wellness is a journey. It's not a destination. There is no like finish line where you can finally say, okay, I did it. But I want you to start small. Be patient with yourself. Give yourself tons of grace. And also celebrate every step forward and learn from the steps that you've taken backwards. So here's your call to action. This week, choose one aspect of holistic wellness that I talked about today and commit to fitting it into your daily routine, whether it's a daily practice of self-reflection, which I think I'm speaking to myself here. Maybe that's the one I need to do because it's so hard for me. Joining a community group or simply getting an extra hour of sleep. Like, take that first step towards a more holistically healthy you. And y'all heard me say mole. I think it's because I've got that game Whack-A-Mole just embedded in my brain from the first part of the episode. But y'all, thank you so much for being here for another episode of the Far More Podcast. Like I said, we're coming up on our 1-year anniversary. I think it's actually next week, if I'm not mistaken. And as I reflect, I'm so grateful for you. I know you're listening right now. I'm grateful for you. I'm so glad you're here. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to it, rate it, share it with a friend who you think might benefit. And if you're not following us on social, we are at Far More Podcast on all the socials, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. And until next time, I will catch you later.